All right. Everyone get ready because we're going deep today
Oh, yeah.
into some words that can be a little tricky.
Absolutely.
We're talking modal verbs,
Yeah.
specifically should, ought to, had better, and supposed to.
These are good ones.
And you might think, oh, I know those words.
Yeah.
But trust me, there are some nuances here
Right.
that can really trip up even, even really experienced speakers.
It's true. And you know what? It's funny because these really small words can totally change like the power dynamic
Yeah.
in a conversation or even reveal like anxieties that are kind of hidden.
Oh,
So
interesting.
mastering these little subtle differences, I think, can make someone a much more persuasive and insightful communicator for sure.
Okay, so let's just start with should.
Okay.
We use it all the time for advice, right? Like, you should get more sleep.
Yeah.
But then it can also express an opinion like, everyone should vote.
Right.
So what's the difference there?
That's a great question. I think it all comes down to the subtext.
Yeah.
When you say someone should do something, you're saying there's a right way to do something and a wrong way to do something.
Uh-huh.
But the question is who decides what's right?
Right.
So with advice, it's usually framed as like what's best for the listener.
Yeah.
But with an opinion, it's more often reflecting the speaker's values or beliefs about the world.
I see. So, like, you should try this new meditation app. Feels different
Yes.
than everyone should pay higher taxes, even though it's the same word.
Totally. And think about how should can be used to give someone a criticism.
Oh, yeah.
Which can feel very loaded, like
Wow.
you should have called your mother back.
Right.
That sounds less like advice and more like a judgment.
Yeah. Like you're in trouble.
It's a guilt trip.
It is a guilt trip.
Yeah.
Wow, I never really thought about it that way.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay. Should
Yeah.
is like a chameleon, right? 'Cause it can
Right.
be all these different things.
Yeah.
Now, what about ought to? Is it just should, but like fancier?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Ought to means the exact same thing, but it is much more formal.
Yeah.
You're more likely to hear it in a courtroom
Okay.
than in a coffee shop.
Right.
It's funny. Ought to never contracts in the negative. You can't say oughtn't to. It's always oughtn't not
Ought
to.
not to.
Yeah. So if you want to sound like a Shakespearean villain,
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
use ought not to.
Yeah. Ought not to do that.
Yeah. But like in everyday speech, you probably just use shouldn't, right?
Right. But it's interesting how just that little change
Yes.
can make it sound so different.
Totally.
All right. Let's move on to supposed to.
Okay.
I feel like this one is a little more difficult.
Yeah, it's tricky.
How is it different from should?
Well, supposed to is all about expectations. And usually those expectations come from somebody else.
Okay.
It often implies that you're obligated to do something that you didn't choose yourself.
So it's not something you want to do, but you have to do it.
Exactly. Like, I'm supposed to go to this networking event,
Yeah.
but honestly, I'd rather stay home and read a book.
Oh, yeah. So the speaker might not actually agree
Uh-huh.
with whatever they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
That's so interesting.
It creates a lot of internal conflict,
Yeah.
like all the times you've done something because you had to,
Right.
not because you wanted to.
Yeah.
That's supposed to.
Okay. Now I'm picking up on a little danger vibe
Interesting.
with had better.
Yeah.
Not just me?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Had better is like should, but with a little threat in there.
Oh.
It's the language of warnings and ultimatums.
So it's like your inner voice saying, don't do that or else.
Exactly.
Okay. So instead of like, you should study for the exam.
Right.
It's like, you better study for the exam or you'll fail.
Exactly. Had better has that urgency
Uh-huh.
and that potential negative consequence.
Right.
It's like a linguistic slap on the wrist. It's telling you to take this seriously.
Wow. It's amazing how much power
I know.
these little words have.
Yeah.
They're like secret codes for how we talk to each other.
Totally.
Okay, so we've got should for advice and opinions.
Uh-huh.
Ought to is like the formal version.
Yep.
Supposed to. For things you have to do even if you don't want to.
Right.
And then had better is like, watch out.
Yes. Like the warning shot.
Exactly. And choosing the right one can really change
For sure.
how people understand what you're saying.
Totally.
This is amazing. I'm already thinking about all the times
Yeah.
I've used these words wrong.
Right.
But before we, get too worried about that, I think we should move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to explore more examples and see how we can use these words strategically in part 2.
I'm excited. So
Oh.
stay tuned.
Welcome back. I'm ready to get into, all those little shades of meaning.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I've started to notice these words everywhere.
And it really makes you realize how much they change how something sounds. Like,
Yeah.
you should come to this party.
Yeah.
It sounds way more chill than, you'd better come to this party.
Totally. Like, had better definitely has that. You better do this.
Yes.
And that can be good. It can be powerful.
Uh-huh.
But it can also be, like, really intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, a little scary.
Right.
And that brings up a really good point. Context is, like, everything.
Yeah, so how do we even know which one to use?
It's true.
It seems like there's a fine line
Yes.
between, like, giving someone advice and being, like, a bossy know-it-all.
I know. It's so true. I think that is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
You have to think about the person you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's a good friend, just a casual should is probably fine. But if it's your boss, you might want to use, like, supposed to.
Yeah.
So that you're showing that you understand, who's in charge.
Right. You'd never tell your boss what they should do.
Right.
And
Exactly.
even with friends. Saying should all the time can get a little annoying.
It can get preachy.
Yeah. Preachy.
Like, you should be more careful with your spending.
Yeah.
That can sound judgmental.
Oh, for sure. I've been guilty of that.
Right. We all have.
So how do we give advice without sounding like
That's the question.
we're lecturing all the time?
I think a really good way to do it is to rephrase things as a question.
Okay.
Like, instead of, you should go to the doctor,
Uh-huh.
try, have you considered going to the doctor?
Oh, that's good.
It shows that you care, but you're not telling them what to do.
Yeah, it's not like you're the boss of them.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
much softer.
Okay. Now, what about ought to?
Okay.
When would we actually use that one?
This is a good question because it is so formal, right?
Yeah.
But imagine you're having a conversation about
Okay.
something serious, like climate change.
Okay.
Saying we ought to be doing more to protect the planet
Mm-hmm.
sounds stronger than just, we should be doing more.
It does. It feels like ought to adds this sense of like
Like a moral obligation.
like an extra layer of importance or something.
Okay.
Okay. So let's get back to supposed to.
Right.
I'm really seeing now how it can show
Mm-hmm.
that conflict between what we want to do
Yes.
and what we feel like we have to do.
It's like you're saying, oh, I have to do this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm supposed to be working on this presentation,
Right.
but I want to be watching, the new show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
But you know what else I was thinking?
What's that?
Supposed to can kind of be used to like blame someone else.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Like if someone says, I was supposed to meet them for lunch, but they never showed up.
Uh-huh.
Kind of sounds like,
Like it's not their fault?
yeah, like they were let down.
Yeah.
Like I was supposed to,
Right.
but the other person messed up.
That's so smart. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's subtle.
Yeah, it's subtle.
But it's like, hey, I was following the plan, but they didn't do their part.
Right. And that brings up another point. Like all these modal verbs,
Yeah.
they can be used strategically.
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, think about had better.
Okay.
It's not always a threat, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's just to show that something's important or urgent.
Oh, okay.
Like, you better get your tickets now. They're selling out fast.
Yeah.
That's not a threat, right?
Right. It's like a tip.
It's like, hey, this is important.
Yeah, and do it now,
Yes, exactly.
or you'll miss out.
Exactly.
And had better can also be used to give strong advice.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, you'd better wear sunscreen today. It's going to be so hot.
Totally. That's a good one.
I'm seeing now how all these little words,
I know, it's cool, right?
they're like tools,
Yeah.
and we can use them to do different things.
And the more you understand how they work,
Uh-huh.
the better you can use them, you know?
It's amazing. I love this.
I'm glad.
I feel like we've uncovered so much,
Me too.
but I think we need a little break.
Okay.
We'll be right back with the final part.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. We're back and ready for more modal verb fun.
I know. I'm excited for this part.
Me too.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about advice and opinions and obligations
All right.
and even like threats, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. But did you know that these words can also show
Oh, this is a good one.
how certain we are about something?
Yes, totally.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So it's not just about like what we think should happen,
Right.
but how sure we are that it will.
Exactly. Exactly. It's both.
Oh,
Yeah. So let's think about it.
okay.
It should rain tomorrow
Uh-huh.
versus it had better rain tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, those sound different.
Right. The first one is just like a normal,
Yeah, like a prediction.
a prediction, yeah.
Yeah.
But the second one is like, I need this rain.
Right. It better rain.
Yes, like I'm depending on it.
Okay, so had better isn't really about how likely it is to rain.
Right.
It's more about how much the person wants it to rain.
Totally. It's like they're putting that energy out there.
Yeah. Like, come on, rain.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I'm thinking about should and supposed to.
Okay.
Do they also show how certain we are?
Oh, for sure. They do.
Okay, tell me more.
So should often means
Yeah.
that we expect something will happen.
Okay.
Based on logic or experience.
Okay, yeah.
Like the traffic should be lighter at this time.
Mm-hmm.
That usually means based on what normally happens.
Right, at that time.
Yeah, there probably won't be much traffic.
But it's not a guarantee.
No, not at all.
Right, like there could be an accident.
Totally. Anything could happen.
Okay, so that's where supposed to comes in.
Exactly.
Like the train is supposed to arrive at 8, but who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
Especially with public transportation, right?
Exactly.
Who knows what's going to happen?
It's like we're acknowledging the plan,
Yes.
but also kind of,
Keeping our fingers crossed.
yeah, hoping for the best, but ready for anything.
Exactly. And sometimes supposed to can even sound like you don't believe something.
Okay, yeah.
Like imagine someone says, he was supposed to be working late, but I saw his car at the movie theater.
Ooh, that's juicy.
Right.
It sounds like they think he's lying.
Exactly.
It's not just that he missed work.
Right.
It's that he wasn't where he said he would be.
Yes. So supposed to, there is doing a lot of work.
Right. It's like, he said that, but I don't believe him.
Exactly. All these modal verbs are so sneaky.
I know. They have all these little hidden meanings.
That's like a whole secret language.
It really is. It's incredible.
It is. It's really fascinating.
Well, this has been amazing. I've learned so much.
I'm glad.
I feel like I can finally understand all these little words and use them the right way.
I hope so.
Do you have any last tips for our listeners?
Good question. Let me think.
They're ready to go out and use all these words.
Yes, they are. I think the most important thing is to just pay attention.
Okay.
Listen to how other people use these words. Try to notice all the little things, the tone of voice, the context.
Yeah.
And then don't be afraid to try it yourself.
Yeah, just go for it.
Exactly. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
It's all about experimenting and having fun.
Exactly. It's all about the fun.
Well, I want to thank you for taking us on this deep dive.
Oh, of course. It's been my pleasure.
I feel like we've learned so much about these little words.
Me too. It's been a journey.
It has been a journey. And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot. And until next time.
Happy diving.
Happy diving.